EJ Spark in the building with another album review, and today I'm reviewing Taylor Swift's Midnight's album. This album has already been out for 24 hours now, and it already broke the single-day album streaming record on Spotify, which I am not surprised with at all. Taylor Swift has a huge fan base. She deserves it. She's a great songwriter. But let's get into this review of Midnight's. This album was almost completely written and produced by Jack Antonoff and Taylor Swift. And as I dove into these opening tracks between Lavender Haze and Maroon, of course, I saw the similar theme of love and heartbreaks, which is the central theme on most of Swift's albums. With the overall production on the whole album, we have a lot of chill and bouncy synths and some typical drum sets. Taylor does flip back over to the pop side of her music career, which is kind of a pivot from her Evermore and Folklore albums, which I think she did that folk genre very, very nicely. And the composition of those albums were, I felt, much more warm, fuzzy, and emotional than what we find on this Midnight's album. When you compare those previous two albums to this Midnight's album, I think the overall production on this album wasn't up to par from the last ones. However, there of course were some great highlights throughout this album, like we find on Anti-Hero, which is the best track on this project. The third song in this track list shows growth in Taylor Swift as she finally admits to what we're all thinking, and that not all of her relationships are the other person's fault. She admits to her own faults and that she isn't perfect. Of course, nobody is. But it's good to hear from the horse's mouth. I thought the melodies, vocals, and lyrics on this track are significant to her growth and are very powerful. And I think in music, especially when an artist has been around for so long as someone like Taylor Swift, and who is still so young, seeing growth in their music is such a great thing to see, because a lot of times artists tend to plateau. And through those first few songs, I felt as though her vocals on here were actually inspired by Lana Del Rey. And look at this, song number 4 features Lana Del Rey. What a surprise. The song is Snow on the Beach, and Lana adds some harmonious and background vocals here that are absolutely gorgeous. If you know me, I absolutely love Lana Del Rey. I think this song right here is absolutely beautiful, with the use of imagery that Taylor and Lana Del Rey give us between Snow on the Beach, using an aurora borealis, which is always a beautiful sight, and it gives the track a wondrous aesthetic. I also thought the minimal use of drums on this song was genius, as it really pushes the images that she's speaking of. I like how she describes an unlikely couple with these metaphors of snow on the beach, because even if a couple may not seem like they're meant for each other, they could still be in love, and it's always going to be a beautiful thing. And another highlight on here, which is a 1-2-3 punch in the track list, is You're on Your Own, Kid. I thoroughly enjoyed this song, and it's a very pleasant one to listen to, as it has a really nice layer of guitar and is another song that shows maturity in Taylor. In the bridge of this song specifically, she mentions struggles that she's had in her past, but tells her past self that she's on her own, and in the end, everything's going to be okay. I thoroughly enjoy a reflective moment of songwriting like this, because being a songwriter myself, I know that these moments when you're writing songs are not only therapeutic for you, but for the listener as well. So I thoroughly enjoyed the first half of this album, but where the album lost me a bit was Vigilante Shit. This song felt like it did not belong with this particular album and is much darker than the rest of the album. A bad guy lookalike, if you will, which I know Taylor sort of did first with her Reputation album, but whatever, we get it, you can be a bad bitch. And it didn't really make me feel as dangerous as the mood of the track tried to portray. It almost felt like an uninspired attempt at a successful bad guy track. And after that, it did feel like the rest of the album went a bit downhill from here, especially when you compare it to the first half of the album, which was so great. Between Bejeweled, Karma, and Mastermind, it really felt as though these tracks meshed together and it became a bit uneventful. Some run-of-the-mill synths and some drum patterns on top of the same old song and dance of themes and lyrics. Although I did enjoy Labyrinth and Sweet Nothing on the back end. I thought the songwriting and composition of those tracks stood out on the back half of the album. And I'm also not sure why she released the deluxe version of this album already. If you remember, with her last album, she released the deluxe version, I believe, months later after the original was released. I felt as though most of those tracks really meshed together, and they felt like leftovers from the back end of the project. Overall, even through the shortcomings of some pedestrian production and themes, Taylor's vocals, melodies, and songwriting on songs like Anti-Hero and You're on Your Own, Kid did really highlight the growth and maturity from Taylor with lyrics that we've always yearned from her. She's finally taken accountability and responsibility from things that have happened in her past. And once again, seeing an artist grow like that is a great thing. The midnight hues and strokes of songwriting feel charming and cozy, as Taylor can always do with music. So very easily, mind you. I believe Taylor's vocals are incredible and her songwriting is incredible, and I still think she has a lot left in the tank to give us in the future. I definitely prefer Folklore and Evermore compared to this style of songwriting from Taylor Swift. But nonetheless, she's come through with a pretty good project that I know her fans are just going to adore. My favorite tracks on this album were Anti-Hero, Snow on the Beach, and You're on Your Own Kid, and I'm going to give this album a 7.1 out of 10. But what are your favorite tracks? What are your least favorite tracks? Did you enjoy this album? Did you not enjoy this album? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for coming by. Please hit a like and subscribe to the channel if you love listening to music, talking music, and making music just as much as I do. You can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at EJSpark1, and as always, you know what it is. It's peace, love, I love s'mores, EJ, out.